An original podcast from podlatino.com.
It starts so quietly, just a piano, soft and reflective, like a thought forming in the back of the mind. And then his voice, gentle but direct. Imagine there's no heaven. I remember the first time I heard those words, not from a stage or a speaker, but from a friend, playing an old vinyl record on a rainy afternoon. And I remember thinking, this doesn't sound like a protest, it sounds like a prayer, or maybe a dare. John Lennon had already been many things: a Beatle, a husband, a father, an agitator. But in 1971, he was something else, a man alone at a piano, trying to dream louder than the noise of the world. And the world was noisy. Vietnam was dragging on. Civil rights movements were burning. Trust in governments was crumbling. Hope felt distant, like something we remembered, not something we expected. And in the middle of that, he asked us to imagine a world with no countries, no religions, no possessions. He didn't whisper it. He sang it calmly, almost like he was inviting you in. That's what struck me the most. He didn't say fight. He said imagine. No fists, no banners, just the idea that the world could be different, if we wanted it badly enough. He wrote it at home, with Yoko beside him. They'd been exploring conceptual art, poetry, provocation. Yoko had used the word imagine in her writings for years. This song was their child, born of philosophy, love, rebellion, and silence. Lennon would later admit the lyrics were virtually the Communist Manifesto. But when he sang them, they didn't feel political. They felt personal. I can still picture the room from the music video, all white, wide open, sunlight pouring in through sheer curtains. John sits at the piano. Yoko walks slowly, barefoot, across the floor. Nothing happens, and yet everything does. It was minimalism with meaning. No special effects, no distractions. Just a man asking the world to think deeper. Of course, not everyone loved it. Some people were outraged. Religious leaders called it sacrilegious. Patriots called it un-American. Cynics called it naive. And maybe it was naive. But sometimes that's the bravest thing you can be. To say out loud what others are too tired or too afraid to believe anymore. Lennon was no saint. He lived in luxury. He had flaws, contradictions, hypocrisies. He knew it. But Imagine wasn't about him. It was about us. It was about letting go of the things we cling to for identity. Flags, faiths, walls, and wallets. And asking, what's left when all that falls away? Just people. Just us. Over the years, Imagine became a sort of global ritual. It was played at the Olympics, at vigils, at protests, at funerals. Each time, it took on new meaning. And yet, it always came back to the same idea. What if the world could start over? What if peace wasn't impossible, just unpopular? After Lennon was killed in 1980, fans gathered outside his building in New York. They lit candles, they cried, and they sang. Not help, not come together. They sang Imagine. It was never meant to be his epitaph, but it became one, and not because it captured who he was, but because it captured what he hoped we could be. I think that's why Imagine still stirs something in people. It doesn't ask for agreement. It asks for courage. The courage to close your eyes and picture a world that doesn't yet exist, and then open them and try to build it anyway, even if you get laughed at, even if you fail, because peace begins in the mind. I've heard Imagine in churches, in protests, on crowded subway platforms. I've heard it played badly on old guitars and perfectly by full orchestras. And every time, it silences the room, not because it demands reverence, but because it offers possibility. It reminds us that dreaming isn't passive. It's a form of resistance. You may say, I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. Maybe that's the most important line, because it admits something quietly radical. No dreamer stands alone. Not if they dare to speak their dream aloud. In the end, Imagine isn't just a song. It's a mirror. Some people see hope, others see hypocrisy, but everyone sees something. And maybe that's the point. Maybe it was never about imagining a perfect world. Maybe it was about imagining a better one and believing, just for a moment, that we could make it real.